Should be live right now. We should be live right now on the old Mick Talks Hoops YouTube channel. So for anyone that's here, post live, thank you guys. We're going to be talking about an awful lot of topics. In this stream right here. We're going to be talking about viewership. We're going to be talking about do the Fever have any chance. We're going to be talking about Stephanie White's coaching or lack thereof. We're going to be talking about injuries. We're going to be talking about everything. Jewel Lloyd in Seattle. We're going to be talking about the Aces, their current investigation. Well, their investigation that's still being investigated. They went and did it again. The WNBA just looking bad in that regard. But yeah, that is pretty much going to be it. Like, we're going to be looking at an awful lot of topics here. So if you guys are interested, subscribe. Yeah. Hey, how are you? How are you? Also, I'm going to pop out the chat. And we are going to then show the chat here. So the chat is going to be here so that you guys can see that it is a live stream. So once we see some notifications coming out, we'll be starting on our first topic. So we got 60 people in here, so we're going to start on our first topic. And the first topic of today's stream is going to be this. Do the Fever have any chance tonight against the Washington Mystics? Like, I think that is a genuine question that we need to talk about. Because if the Fever end up going 2-5, it's not great. It is not a great look. Like, genuinely, it is not a great look if they lose this game. Like, you've got now a situation where the Indiana Fever need to at least show that they are competent without Caitlin Clark. I don't mean good, but they have to show they're at least competent without Caitlin Clark. They lost by 6 points the last time. And you might be saying, oh, but like, they're better now. They did not look better. They did not look better against the Connecticut Sun. They didn't look better at all. And like, it's not like Sonia Citron played particularly well. It's not like Brittany Sykes played well at all. They made Shakira Austin look like Jordan. It is what it is. But you also can't forget where Leah didn't touch the ball. DeWanna Bonner absolutely went off. And obviously Sophie had a bad game. But lads, Sid Colson's healthy. Sid Colson is healthy. And Sid Colson being healthy is not an ideal scenario for the Indiana Fever. Because they have Ari McDonald. And again, I've said it where it's like, when it comes to Colson, this was always my opinion on Colson. When Sid Colson is, like, when she's being healthy, or like, she's not a bad point guard. She's a better point guard than Sophie Cunningham. But the only reason why Colson should be getting minutes is if there's nothing else. And you've now got a player brought in Ari McDonald, who's much better than Colson, who's going to be behind Colson in the pecking order. Like, we're going to be seeing another game where Sydney Colson is a starting point guard. And I don't see how this team functions with Sydney Colson starting at the one. Like, I understand they were better than the Connecticut Sun, but like, being better than the Connecticut Sun is just should be a given. It should be a given. And I understand, obviously, they were worse than, like, realistically, they were worse than the Fever. But it's just bad. It's just all around just being bad. And the Mystics are coming off. By the way, the Mystics have won one of their, if I'm not mistaken, they've won one of their last 5 games, and it was only against the Fever. So, like, anyone saying that the Mystics are this really good team, they're not. They're not. And everyone in my comment section was like, the Mystics suck when the Fever were losing them. They're like, no, the Mystics are great. Look at these rookies. And I'm like, the Mystics started off 2-0. They are 1-4 They're 1-4 in their last 5 games, with that one win being against the Indiana Fever. And it's not like they've had a close loss other than the Valkyries. And the Valkyries aren't very good either. Like they have, if you're looking at the Mystics have, obviously they got a fluke win against the Atlanta Dream, where the Atlanta Dream just choked. That was a good win, but it was a fluke win. They beat the Sun barely after coming back. They then lost to the Valkyries. They lost to the Ace. Actually, fairness, they lost to the Aces, which was a weird game. Then they got beaten by the Mercury in a game where they were down big at one stage, and they came back, and the Mercury won that. They then got destroyed by the Liberty, and they beat the Fever. Like the Mystics are going to probably win this game, and if the Fever lose to the Mystics again, you better believe they're losing to the Sky, because the Sky are better than the Mystics. I just want that put out there right now. The Chicago Sky are better than the Washington Mystics. So like if you look at the standings right now, the Sky are the 9th seed, the Fever are the 8th seed. If the Fever lose this game, they go to the 10th seed. They go to the 10th seed. 10th seed. And someone said, why does the Washington Mystics coach bench Kiki so much? Because Shakira Austin, Kiki Iriafen, and Lee Edwards all play the same position. Like, people don't understand. Emily Engstler gets no minutes for Washington. She would start for the Fever. She'd probably start for the Fever over Natasha Howard. I'm not joking when I say that. The Washington Mystics are the most stupidly lopsided team ever. Like, Sika Kone is a solid power forward. But, like, Emily Engstler is a really, really good player. She does not play purely because she's behind Shakira Austin, Lee Edwards, and Kiki Iriafen in the pecking order, and they all play the same position. They all play the same position. And for people being like, it's time to panic, there's 38 games left, like, if they go 0-3 against the Mystics without Caitlin Clark, it's GG's. Because you cannot expect Caitlin Clark to play 40 minutes a game in the playoffs. Like, you can genuinely, it's just tough. Like, don't subscribe unless you're a Lynx fan. I've lost faith in this. I've lost faith not in Caitlin Clark. I have not lost faith in Caitlin Clark, and I mean that. I've not lost faith in Caitlin Clark. I have not lost faith in Lexi Hull. I've not lost faith in Dewana Bonner. I've not lost faith in Leah Boston. I've not lost faith in those 4 players, and I've not lost faith in Demirs Dantas. I've lost faith in Natasha Howard as a winning basketball player. I've never had faith in Sydney Colson as a player. Sophie Cunningham's injured. I don't know what Ari McDonald can bring, and I have no faith in Stephanie White. I have no faith in Stephanie White. I don't even know if I should have faith in Michaela Timpson. I never have really had faith in Brie Turner. It is going to be a tough situation. And like, if this team can't function without Caitlin Clark, I said the Mystics were good. I said the Mystics aren't as bad as I thought they were, which is a very different thing. I thought the Mystics were going to be some bad. But when it comes to the Indiana Fever, they are, like, you cannot rely on Caitlin Clark playing 40 minutes a game, and this team creates nothing without Caitlin Clark. They create nothing without Caitlin Clark. And by the way, they create nothing without Caitlin Clark on the ball. We have seen what happens when Caitlin Clark is off the ball. Even when she plays. Even when Caitlin Clark plays, we've seen how bad she is off the ball. Like, we saw what happened in the, what was it? Was it against the Dream? The 2 quarters against the Dream? When she took Caitlin Clark off the ball. We saw them have that 12-point quarter. We saw them do that. We saw the 4th quarter against the New York Liberty when Caitlin Clark is off the ball. We saw them score, 9 points in the 4th quarter or something. We saw the Fever nearly choke away this game because of a slow start, taking Caitlin Clark off the ball. Like, that is a huge, huge issue. And you can see it even in this game right here. They literally had the game. They were way out of the game trying to play the ball Stephanie White wants them to play. And when they just said, screw this, we're just going to chuck shots, they nearly made a comeback. Every single thing that's good about this Indiana Fever team, their coach doesn't want them doing. So it's going to be a really interesting thing. And like, Stephanie White's turning this team into the Connecticut Sun. And if you cannot, like, she's trying to get them to grind teams down to their level. And if they lose to the Mystics twice in a row after losing to the Sun, I genuinely, I don't see how. Look, the Fever are a playoff team. I don't see how the Fever win a round in the playoffs right this. I don't see how they can win a round. Like, first of all, I don't see the Fever not making the playoffs. If the Fever go 18-26, they're making the playoffs. I can't see them not making the playoffs. But, like, with it going now to best of 7 in the finals and best of 5 in the semis against a better team than you, like, again, the only chance I think of them making the finals is if they take out the Lynx or the Liberty in a best of 3, which I think they can do. I think they can do it. Win one game in New York and send it back to Indiana for game 3. I think they can do that. But, like, and I think they could beat the Aces or the Storm or the Mercury in a best of 5. But, like, I don't think there's any shot at this team winning a championship right now. With this roster, with this construction, with the power forward they're running, with the backup point guard, with the coach, I don't think there's any hope for this team. And to be fair, this is a team that went in talking about winning a championship. So, right, if you're a rival fan, I mean this. If you are a rival fan, you can laugh. You can laugh right now. But yeah, that is my opinion on that. So, lads, have any of you guys seen the crash out? So, Overtime posted who's on the Mount Rushmore of female athletes, and they put Caitlin Clark there. And by the way, like, unpopular opinion, you do not have to put... Does Mount Rushmore have to be all Americans? Does it have to be all Americans? Because, first of all, Biles, sure. Serena over Navratilova, debatable, but sure. Women's tennis is the biggest sport, sure. Katie Ledecky, sure. There should not be a female basketball player other than Caitlin Clark that has transcended sports enough. There hasn't been. Like, if it has to be Americans, do we? And I going to be completely honest, if it has to be Americans, there's no WNBA player on the list. There are other sports other than the key American sports. Like, you're saying Serena's the best to ever do it. From Belgium, we had Kleisters and Annan. When Kleisters and Annan were at their best, Serena was retired. Serena comes back. Annan retires at like 25 in her prime. So they never faced off in their peaks against each other. Kleisters came back, beat Serena Williams in Australia, where, according to the umpire, Serena Williams, after calling her or in US Open, was it US Open? Where, according to the umpire, when Serena faced Kleisters, freaking, she's starting to kill the umpire, according to the umpire herself. But, yeah, I don't think there should be a basketball player. But this is my favorite thing about this, is the WNBA fans crashing out, demanding it be a WNBA player. And it's like, when discussing women's basketball players deserve to represent the sport in Mount Rushmore, you most certainly have to choose a champion who has dominated sport. Here are 6 who have. There's one, and I mean this when I say this, the old WNBA fans, you know that they don't give a damn about basketball because it's only about who the trendy names are. First of all, do you know who they never talk about? They never talk about Maya Moore, the greatest winner in sports. They will never talk about Maya Moore. And also, they pretend like arguably the greatest player of all time did not exist. And I mean that. They pretend that arguably the greatest of all time did not exist. The youngest MVP in WNBA history, Lauren Jackson. Lauren Jackson is probably the GOAT. And this sums up with all of these old WNBA. And by the way, I'm not talking about the actual fans, the pretend basketball fans. People that are not real basketball fans. Lauren Jackson is probably, if we talk about the GOATs, just purely based on longevity. Taurasi, sure. Like, if you want to make the argument for Taurasi, cool. I've heard Sue Bird be in the GOAT conversation when she was never the best player on her own team. Sue Bird inherited Lauren Jackson and then Stewie. Like, Lauren Jackson is a 3-time WNBA MVP, a finals MVP, a 2-time champion, 7-time all WNBA first team member. Between 2003 and 2010, she all bar 1 year did she make the all WNBA first team. She obviously was a 3-time scoring champion. She made what? How many all defensive first teams did she make? She made the first team in all defense. She made 5 all defensive teams. And not only that, she basically carried Australia to 3 Olympic silver medals. And I understand, they never won a gold. They won a World Cup. She won a World Cup with Australia. And I'm sorry, this is coming up against America. She won a World Cup. Her knees gave out when she was about 30. She was about 30 when her knees gave out. And she still played at the last Olympics for Australia. Her knees stopped working at about 30. And she still had as good a career as anyone. A'ja Wilson has not done more, was not better than Lauren Jackson. And honestly, by the way, A'ja Wilson has a GOAT trajectory, by the way. I mean this when I say this. A'ja Wilson, if you're going to be honest, if A'ja Wilson keeps doing what she's doing, yeah, she's going to be in the GOAT convo. Stewie look seems to have had a huge regression. Stewie seems to have had a huge regression, so I don't think long-term we're going to see Stewie in that conversation. But, this is the whole thing with these old WNBA fans. It's just who the trendy names are. There's no argument for Lisa Leslie over Lauren Jackson. There's not. First of all, where is Cynthia Cooper? She's a Caitlin Clark fan, so we're going to ignore Cynthia Cooper. Why is Candace Parker on this list? I'm sorry, why is Candace Parker on this list? Oh, she won the WNBA as a rookie. The youngest MVP, or MVP as a rookie. She won the MVP because of a fan vote. Do people not realize that? Candace Parker won the MVP because of a fan vote. She won it because of a fan vote. If you gave as much of a percentage of fan vote for MVP last year, Caitlin Clark is second. Maybe wins it. There's no... And again, look, Cheryl Swoops. I wouldn't put her in GOAT conversations because she wasn't the best player on her team for a lot of those championships. But Cheryl Swoops, brilliant. I'm not gonna question that. If you want to argue Cheryl Swoops is the GOAT, cool. I'm not even going to say... I'm going to say I'm not even... You can make that argument. You can genuinely make the argument that Cheryl Swoops is one of the GOATs. But it's just ignoring players. These people that pretend to care about basketball, no, they just want to care about the big names that are everywhere. There is no argument. And I understand Lisa Leslie's a big name. Lisa Leslie was fantastic, by the way. She was fantastic. Maybe there is an argument you can put for Lisa Leslie in. Maybe there is an argument for Lisa Leslie. I'll be honest. Maybe I jumped the gun on that one. But there's no argument for Candace Parker. 2 championships, 2 MVPs. No finals MVPs. Lisa Leslie, in fairness, was a... Yeah, maybe you could argue Lisa Leslie. Maybe I'm going too far on that one. Maybe I'm going too far on the Lisa Leslie argument. But you'll never hear a mention of Elaine. And I don't think Elena Deladon's in that conversation either. But you'll never hear Lauren Jackson mentioned. The disrespect towards Lauren Jackson, who, if her knees didn't give out, would have been the GOAT. I don't think many people that were around at that time would argue that Lauren Jackson would have been the greatest of all time. And it's not she played 5 years. She literally, she had a 10-year spell in the WNBA where she was legitimately from an age that she would have been too young. She was 21 when she was an MVP. If she was American, she would have been too young to enter the league. From the time she was about 20 till 30, she was a top 2 player in the league. Top 2 player. 3-time MVP over all of these players in their primes. In their primes. And why? Because she's Australian. These people pretend she doesn't exist. And you'll never hear a mention of Lauren Jackson, ever. The only person who ever mentions Lauren Jackson is Shannon Sharp. And these people want to get rid of Shannon Sharp. Because even though, yeah, Shannon Sharp admittedly did not watch the league for a long time, he watched at the start. He watched at the start. And you can tell from people that watched back then. You can tell the people who watched back then how great Lauren Jackson was. And you can tell with people that talk about the game, that care about the game, with the players that they talk about. The players they talk about. Candace Parker is one of the best. Yes, she is 100% one of the best. But like, Candace Parker being in the GOAT convo, Candace Parker is at the Elena Deladon level. Parker and Elena Deladon, I would say, are a very similar level. And I was about to say, does Candace Parker technically have 3 rings? She got injured for the playoffs. Does she technically have a ring with the Aces in 2023? She didn't play in the playoffs. Does she technically have a ring? Yeah, she technically has a ring that she didn't play in the playoffs. Like, I'm not counting that one. But like, it is who are the trendy names. That's literally it. It is who are the trendy names in the WNBA. And again, Candace Parker is one of the greatest of all time. She was not Lauren Jackson. Candace Parker's, I would put her at Deladon level. I mean that. I would put her at Deladon level. Again, fantastic player. Absolutely fantastic player. But like, these old fans pretend that the only the players that have stayed in the public spotlight are the ones that are good. And the funny thing is that while doing that, you're ignoring arguably the GOAT in Maya Moore. You're ignoring Maya Moore, who you're going to argue. You're ignoring Lauren Jackson. If we're being completely honest, like, if you want to put Taurasi to GOAT, sure. But after that, you're probably going more Cooper, maybe. Jackson. And none of them, they don't seem to care. They don't seem to care because they're not basketball fans. They're not basketball fans. These same people are like, oh, you need to respect all the old players. You need to respect all the old players. Like, but no. It's only you need to respect the old players that we care about. You need to respect the old players we care about. Because you better believe we're gonna make sure as hell you forget about the great Lauren Jackson. We're gonna make sure as hell you forget about her. But yeah, it is what it is. And for people saying disrespecting Parker or Deladon, saying neither of them are in the GOAT conversation isn't necessarily disrespecting them. Candace Parker is unbelievable. They're both top 10 of all time. Both Candace Parker and Lena Deladon are top 10 of all time. And again, Lauren Jackson literally played in the last Olympics, which is kind of crazy. But hold your hands during the game. Gamebridge do perfect behind the scenes. Yeah, I don't know how to do perfect art with copyright. That's the thing. I don't know how to art with copyright. If they were a bit better for copyright, it would be something. It would be something. But lads, did any of you guys see this? Did any of you guys see what's going on with the Aces? So, the Vegas Aces have got, currently, are getting the 100K per player. The WNBA is still in the process of investigating it from last year. And by the way, I have no issue with the with players getting paid by this tourism board. Can it circumvent the salary cap? Sure. But I have actually got no problem with this happening. I have no problem with this happening. Tourism boards giving stuff to players. However, what it has been a little bit of a joke. It has been an absolute joke. Because the investigation is still ongoing. Last I heard, the payments from last year are still under investigation. It's wild. And by the way, this guy, like, he's one of the people from Her Hoop Stats. Basically, this guy covers almost everything. Is as much of an insider as there is. But lads, they're still in the process of investigating last year. And Vegas have just said, screw it, we're doing it again. They have just said, screw it, we're doing it again. So no other team is allowed to do this because the WNBA are investigating it. No other team is allowed, no other area board is allowed to pay their players because of the WNBA's big investigation on the Aces, and they don't want to potentially lose a draft pick and get punished. And the Aces have just doubled down and just said, we don't care that you're investigating us for doing this. We're doing it again. We're doing it again. And by the way, I have no issue with the Aces getting, the Aces get sponsorship again despite WNBA probe. Sponsoring the Aces for their second season. It appears every member team has signed. I couldn't care less. I'm not going on a paywall. But apparently the person that's given them the sponsorships has as good as said, until they find something, we're going to keep doing it. No other team can do it because the WNBA have basically said, we're investigating this isn't allowed. And the Aces have just said, we don't care, we're doing it again. How long until... By the way, there are other teams that could do this. There are other, cities that their team brings in so much. For being honest, the Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever give 5 million bonus to Caitlin Clark and 500k to all the Fever players. If the city of Indiana, or state of Indiana, the city of Indianapolis, their tourism board, considering the fact apparently Caitlin Clark generated 36 million for the economy, give Caitlin Clark 2 million, give every player on the team $1 million. Give every player on the team $1 million. Give every player on the team. Tell your city to go get behind your team and sponsor it. The WNBA has said this isn't allowed. And they've just said, screw it. We're just going to keep breaking the rules. If every city starts, what's stopping them? The WNBA investigation is stopping them. The WNBA saying this isn't allowed is stopping them. The Aces are the only team that have just said, go on, punish us. We already haven't had a first round pick since Kirsten Bell. Keep punishing us. I could see the Aces losing their first round pick again this year. Genuinely. At this stage, the Aces might go for the till the end of time without getting a first round pick. They legitimately might go till the end of time. Because obviously, for people being I don't understand why the Indianapolis doesn't offer bonuses, because the WNBA will punish them. The WNBA involving the battle between multiple tourism boards because they can't afford it. They 100% can't afford it. Every team can afford this that wants it, by the way. New York would do the same thing. People don't realize that the Liberty winning is worth... these people are billionaires. If there's some weird workaround, there's always going to be a way to funnel money in. The New York Liberty, by the way, if people don't understand. The New York Liberty, Joe Tsai owned a private jet, and he didn't want his team to fly commercial. So he let his team travel. The owner let his team travel on his private jet. They fined the owner and threatened the Liberty with expulsion from the WNBA because the owner let his own team fly on his private jet. To act like there are not teams and cities that would do this as well. The difference is that all the other teams and cities care about the rules. This reminds me of, have you ever seen the Cartman South Park skit about Tom Brady and the rules? About why Tom Brady's his hero, and he's like, this is the rules. Or the Cartman Tom Brady skit. If you guys have ever seen that. If you guys have ever seen the skit, Cartman trolls, South Park trolls Tom Brady, it's basically it. But yeah. But this is literally the freaking the Aces. This is literally the Aces when it comes to the WNBA.
Tom Brady's never out. You broke the rules. You broke the rules. You breaking the rules. You broke the rules. You broke the rules. How you found out I broke the rules? Yeah, you broke the rules. I'm commissioner. I can break the rules because you guys broke the rules.
That's literally it. It is literally it. It is. The Aces broke a rule, are being investigated for breaking the rule, So no other team is allowed to break the rule because the Aces have, like, are being investigated because according to the WNBA, they're breaking a rule. Again, they may not have broken a rule. And I love the fact that the players are getting paid, by the way. I love the fact that the players are getting paid the extra 100K. I love the fact that they're generating money for the state or for the city. They're able to get paid. But it is literally now a situation where other teams won't do it. Other teams can afford to do it and they won't do it because the WNBA have basically come out and said, yeah, this isn't allowed. And the Aces have just said, we don't care. We're going to keep breaking the rules. We're just going to keep breaking the rules. Like, it's madness. It's madness. And look, maybe they've broken absolutely no rule. Maybe they've broken no rule. But, and by the way, if you've looked into this investigation, it very much looks like the Aces are broken the rules. Because the rule, like, they basically, I can't remember what it was. I need to get up to date, but from what I remember, it was something along the lines of, like, the Aces have said that it's not a deal with the Aces, the team. It is a likeness deal with every individual player from the city of Nevada, with a licensing deal with every player. But I think the investigation showed that, like, the owner of the Aces did something, or, like, was the one who started off the deal. And they tried to argue that it was individually with agents, that it was a sponsorship deal. And whatever way it is, I'm glad the players are getting paid. The players deserve to be getting paid. But it looked like they more than likely broke the rule. They are breaking salary cap rules, but they don't care. They actually just don't care. Which is the funniest thing about this, is the Aces actually just don't care. They might lose first round picks till the end of time and they don't care. They do not care. They will break every rule. They'll break the Hamby rule. They've done other stuff for salary cap that has lost them draft picks in the past. They just don't care how many rules they break. It's a Raiders rule, just win. But yeah. It's just one of those mad things. Like, they're literally out there. There's no rule against NIL. A team does not initiate it. Thus, the investigation, the league found no culpability. That's why the Business Bureau has done it again. The investigation's still going on. And that's where the problem is that the Vegas are saying it's an NIL, but the WNBA have evidence that it isn't an NIL. Or believe they have evidence that it isn't an NIL. That's where the investigation is coming from. Other teams need to blame their cities for this. The investigation hasn't finished. Like, you blame the WNBA on it, but until the investigation finishes, other teams can't do anything. Other teams and players and cities can't do anything until this investigation is finished. Genuinely. They're not allowed to do anything until the investigation is finished. And as long as this investigation is still ongoing, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, they can't do anything about it. As long as the investigation is still happening, teams cannot do anything about it from any other team. Actually, guys, did any of you guys see this? So this game right here was an awful game. It was an absolute awful game. However, did you guys see the viewership? For this game? This viewership was crazy. The Indiana Fever's matchup on Friday versus the Sun drew 851,000 viewers, becoming the most viewed WNBA game on ION this season, despite Caitlin Clark's absence. So, the Fever, as I expected, don't pull as many views without Caitlin Clark. They don't pull as many views without Caitlin Clark. That is a given. Everybody knows that is a given. However, They are the most popular team in the WNBA with without Caitlin Clark, which is crazy. And you know, all those Fever fans, Robin, I mean it. Fever fans, Caitlin Clark and Fever fans support the product more than anyone else and somehow get shit on it first. Come on, Robin. The only acceptable way to support the W is tweet about it and be as loud as possible, not to watch the product or spend money on it. No. The only way to support the W is to tweet out that you hate Caitlin Clark and you want to get rid of the commissioner. That is the only way. That is the only way. That's the legit way. Love this team through good and bad. Well done. Been through too many losses and wins not to watch the Fever when Caitlin Clark is out. We were seeded. Even when we got our behinds beat, thought that was a guaranteed dub to lift our spirits. Yeah, I did. We're investing in the team just like Steph and the Warriors, the Bria Hartley effect. You're not wrong. Everyone's watching Bria Hartley. Fever is Ireland's team. Like, do people not realize that when it comes to the WNBA outside of America, I would say 95% of viewers are for the Fever, just like the Bulls in the 90s. 200k more than someone's debut game. Yeah. 200k more than Paige's debut game. Which was it the only game that was on at that time during the night? And it was in prime time. Too invested in the Fever. They hate watched. Pretty good rating. Win or lose, that's our team. We love the Fever. And that's the thing when it comes to BBALL Caitlin Clark fans. There's no question about it that it's the most loyal fan base in sport for the Indiana Fever. And I've always said this, and I stand by this. I'm only a hardcore fan of one team in sports, and it's Leeds United. It is Leeds United, as you'll see right there. As the only team I'm a fan of. I've had too much stress over Leeds United to get too stressed out over any other team. I'll watch what teams I find to be the most fun. And Caitlin Clark is the most fun player to watch in the WNBA. It's actually good. Because let's be real, Maureen Johannes just pub stomps. In a competitive setting, Maureen Johannes is not great, but she is an elite pub stomper. But yeah, it's huge. Like, it's absolutely huge. And it's an Indiana Fever team with no Caitlin Clark as well. With no Caitlin Clark. And you better believe they're still going to pull in big viewership tonight. You're going to pull in big viewership tonight, even without Caitlin. And we saw it on NBA TV. It was the 10th most watched WNBA game ever on NBA TV. And it was more watched than literally any non-Caitlin Clark game. Like, it's crazy. It's actually crazy how good the Fever fan base are in general. And like, if you look up WNBA most viewed Ion. So if you look at games, obviously here it is from what sorry if you guys heard that. Nope. But you've even got an article here by Grant Young talking about it. I'm guessing he's just doing exactly what I'm doing, just in text form, instead of writing an article about the exact thing I'm talking about. I do want to see, is there so if you look at Ion last season, they're like, oh yeah, Ion averaged 670,000 viewers. But people don't realize that, like, Caitlin Clark averaged over 1 million, and most of Caitlin Clark's games were on Ion. Like, Caitlin Clark was getting 1.2 million viewers for games on Ion. But now you're like looking at them pulling in. If it had 851,000 viewers, means it could very well have it very, very well could have peaked at over 1 million. It could have probably peaked at over 1 million. Like, again, last year's biggest game on Ion was the 30th of June, which peaked at 1.9 million. It was the 5th time that Ion eclipsed the 1 million mark with all 5 broadcasts involving the Fever, of course. But like, I think it peaked at like 1.9 or something for this game. And there's never been a rating driver like Caitlin Clark. There is never been as much of a rating driver, in my opinion. I'm not going to say in sports, because I don't think there's in women's basketball. There's never been. Like, The last rating driver I remember like this in sport was in basketball was Stephen Curry. LeBron is not the rating driver that Caitlin Clark is. Like, as much as people want to see LeBron and want to watch LeBron, there are not as many people, like, the viewership of Caitlin compared to the rest that are just individually there to see her is berserk. It's absolutely berserk. Kobe was probably a bigger draw in big games. Jordan was definitely a bigger draw. I'm not comparing her to Michael Jordan. I'm not comparing Caitlin Clark's draw to Michael Jordan because what Michael Jordan did for the sport of basketball cannot be replicated. That cannot be replicated. So I am not out here going to compare Caitlin Clark to Michael Jordan. However, like, Caitlin Clark is the biggest drawer in women's basketball by a mile. And everybody other than the WNBA wants to take advantage of it. The WNBA are doing the opposite of taking advantage of it. They're doing the very opposite. And I mean, those old WNBA fans, I mean, I understand why you're annoyed. I understand why you were annoyed. You had your old club where you can be as toxic as you want and you could still be friends with players, and you would just start Twitter spaces with 17 people involved, but 3 of the 17 were players and coaches that were in the league. And you could probably, I know this is not true, but this is a joke. It's a joke. But you can go to the stadium with your laptop and have it as a good place to chill and do some work. But that's not what it is. And someone commented, for 10 years LeBron carried NBA TV ratings. I understand LeBron carried NBA TV ratings, but like, it wasn't a case where 3 million people watched LeBron and then 200,000 people watched every other game. Not quite like that. Caitlin Clark just being there in the arena. And you've seen a bunch of the fans that are there with Caitlin Clark said, you've heard things with some fan testimonies when they're like, when they're literally like, you know what, we're going to, we're happy we showed up. We're happy that Caitlin Clark was there. And she was like, she signed autographs and we got to see her even though she didn't play. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah. Okay. LeBron's old news, yeah. And lads, I think a conversation needs to be had. I think a conversation needs to be had when it comes to coaching in the WNBA. I think a conversation really, really needs to be had when it comes to coaching, because there is such, in my opinion, there is such a big gap in the best 3 or 4 coaches and the rest. Like, if you look at well-coached teams, in my opinion, there is so much of a gap between the well-coached teams and the badly coached teams. And not enough teams this offseason went for what I thought they should have done, which was going and hiring coaches that have coached out there, coached at high levels. And by the way, Cheryl Reeve is an exception as a pure WNBA coach. Cheryl Reeve is an exception. But if you look at a lot of these, like a lot of teams in the WNBA right now, and the Mercury is a prime example of it. So if you look at these teams, and if you look at the standings, the Seattle Storm have kept Noelle Quinn as a coach. Why? I don't know. She's not a very good coach. The Aces brought in Becky Hammon. Becky Hammon, whether you love her or hate her, Becky Hammon was Greg Popovich's main assistant coach and was in talks. People were saying there were talks of her going for the Chicago Sky job. There were talks of her going to the Sky job. The Lynx, again, Cheryl Reeve is an exception. But you look at the Sky. The Sky have a coach who's known as a player development coach and struggles with in-game situations. The Fever have a coach who flamed out at Vanderbilt and did a really good job of dragging in Connecticut. The only good coaching job she's really done is when she's dragged teams down to their level. And she's a coach who has best known for overperforming with little talent. Overperforming with little talent. Valkyries, Natalie, and Akase, I'm not even going to complain about her. I don't know anything about her. Lynn Roberts, I don't know what the hell is wrong with the Sparks. They just look terrible. The Dallas Wings hired Chris T. Sides. Like, I actually don't know what the Dallas Wings were thinking. I genuinely don't know what the Dallas Wings were thinking with that coach. He's terrible. And Rashid Mazian just has the worst team in the WNBA. Like, I don't know about Natalie and I don't know about Rashid because their teams just suck. Their teams, well, not even suck. Their teams just aren't good enough. Their teams just straight up are not good enough. But one of the biggest example I will give is Nate Tibbetts. So, if you guys know anything about Nate Tibbetts is the highest paid coach in the entire WNBA. So, Nate Tibbetts, it was a highly, highly regarded NBA assistant coach. He was a G League coach. He was an assistant for the Magic for years. He was a super highly regarded assistant coach in the NBA. And he got hired by the Phoenix Mercury. And the old WNBA fan base were going berserk. They were like, it's unfair that he's getting paid this much. It's unfair that he's being hired. You know, he has no experience. His only experience is he says he has daughters. That's the closest thing he's got to coaching women's basketball. He's got no experience. And last year, I watched the Phoenix Mercury play, and I'm like, I said it coming into this season, that Nate Tibbetts is either the best coach in the WNBA or he's a complete con artist. Because this guy runs the most obscure things you will ever see. And I'm watching this Mercury team this year. And by the way, came back down 18 without Alyssa Thomas against the Sparks. I know the Lynx didn't have Fee, but ran the Lynx extremely close. The games they've lost one game to the Storm by 7 points. They beat the Sparks, obviously, but like, he has taken a bunch of players that were deemed not good enough for the WNBA, and Catherine Westbeld, Alexi Howells, who's been decent, Monica Cohen-McCanny, who, by the way, is leading the WNBA in clutch points. She's leading the WNBA in clutch points. Kitty Alexa, who has been exceptional, who is a sniper. And you've got, like, Satu Sabli out here saying first year playing under Coach Nate Tibbetts. I would truly say it's the first time I've been coached to my limits. I'm grateful to being put in those positions. I like to handle the ball, get off screens like a guard. She's averaging 21.3 points. And by the way, I still think Satu is a negative motor and all of these things. But you can work around that. You can work around players not really playing defense and having negative motors if you are actually a good coach. If you are actually a good coach, you can work around players' weaknesses. You don't need to say, okay, this is what my player's weakness is, so we need to hide players from their weaknesses. No, a good coach works around the player's weaknesses and builds around the player's weaknesses and strengths. The Phoenix Mercury, the way they are playing basketball, and it's funny, people use the pace stat, like it's, the pace stat just means the teams are playing faster. It's like, no, the Fever aren't playing faster. The Fever literally just shooting dumb early shot clock shots. There's a difference between running and playing dumb early shot clock shots and shooting them. And when Alyssa Thomas is healthy, her pushing the ball up the floor, spreading out around Alyssa Thomas. Even Kalani Brown's out there shooting some threes. Do I think she's good at it? Hell no. Hell no, but even Kalani Brown sometimes is out there shooting threes. Like, Kalani Brown's terrible. And she's even being effective. Has Haley Jones, did she play many minutes? She played 4 minutes. Right, they brought in Haley Jones. Obviously, they got rid of Uzun. It is, like, it just shows what a good coach can do to a team. And by the way, another elite coach, and it doesn't have to be, coming from the WM, or it doesn't have to come from the NBA. If you look again at the, obviously the Mercury are good. If you look at the Atlanta Dream, how they're playing under their coach. When they want to be, they're this fast up-tempo team. When they want to be, they're a slow, grinded-out team. Because they can do everything they do. They're just winning. They're just winning. Like, this team on paper is not that good. It's not that good. Like, it is a team that's actually, like, preps for their opposition, and just wins games. Just gets wins. Other than a fluke loss at the start of the season. You've got Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard looking exceptional. Alicia Gray is looking like she's in the MVP conversation. Ryan Howard's a little bit too inconsistent to be in the MVP conversation, but she's not far off it. She's not far off it either. Right? Like, there's going to be 2 All-Stars on that team. Even Bree Jones is playing well. Griner, yeah, is struggling, but even Bree Jones is killing it. Like, there is a huge level of coaching. And I said this, by the way. I said this, that the Indiana Fever should not have gone to Stephanie White. Stephanie White was my is better than Christy Sides choice. I might be wrong on that one, but like, when Stephanie White left the Connecticut job, I'm like, okay, she's gone to Indiana, and I'm like, she's better than Christy Sides. That was a lot of my take on it. But the problem is that, again, outside of Cheryl Reeve, because Cheryl Reeve has a perfect team to play old style pass and cut basketball, off ball movement, few pick and rolls, except for Courtney and freaking Fee in the pick and pop. She's got the personnel because she's got a lot of defenders, she got a lot of length, she got a lot of shooting. She's got a lot of that. And you have got so many coaches that are just here for vibes. You have got one of the most successful college coaches in Carl Semesco. It is very clear that there are coaches that are coaching in 2025, and there are coaches that are coaching in 2007. There are coaches that are coaching in 2007, and there are coaches that coach in 2025. Tyler Marsh I rate Tyler Marsh as a basketball mind and as a coach. I don't think he's a head coach. I don't think his in-game decision-making is good enough. I don't think his player management, in my opinion, I don't think is good enough. I don't think his rotations are good enough. Like, that's just my opinion on Tyler Marsh. I think Tyler Marsh is a really good coach. I don't think he's a good head coach. Again, I don't know about Nakase. Lynn Roberts, maybe it's just the personnel with her. A lot of injuries, so maybe you give her a pass. But, like, you can see that there are Noelle Quinn. You can see in fairness, Cheryl Reeve is the best example of the old WNBA coach. She's just an unbelievable coach in general. Maybe the philosophy is in modern basketball, the most modern basketball, but she is a really good coach. I'm not going to question Cheryl Reeve. She is like the freaking Greg Popovich almost of WNBA coaches. But you've got Chris Koklanis, who doesn't seem to have a clue. Rashid Mazian does not have the personnel to play the way he wants to. And an inability to adapt is a bit of an issue. Stephanie White does not have the personnel to play she wants to, and she's trying to turn this Indiana Fever free-flowing offensive team into last year's Connecticut Sun, who played puke ball. And it is, someone said modern basketball is throwing up threes. No, modern basketball is getting the best possible shot. Modern basketball is, you can play inside out, you can play outside in. Modern basketball is literally if you shoot more open shots than your opponents for the totality of the game, you're going to win. But WNBA basketball is, let's shoot pull-up middies. Let's shoot pull-up middies all game for 40-something games. But yeah, it is a huge thing in my opinion when it comes to coaching. And I've just noticed it watching the Mercury. I'm watching this team and I'm like, on paper, this team should suck. On paper, this not even should suck. Isn't unbelievable. But you've got all these players that know their role, that play their role perfectly, and even when Alyssa Thomas is out, are adaptable. With the Indiana Fever, you've got a coach who players don't have a role, players aren't doing any of this. And you might be saying, oh, the Fever are a new team. This is an entirely new team. There is not one player. By the way, if you look at the Phoenix Mercury roster, people are like, oh, there's a couple of new players. The key 4 players for the Fever are still the same 4 players. There is 0. I'm not joking when I say this. There are 0 players that are currently healthy that played for the Phoenix Mercury last year. And they're already clicking. Why? Because their coach is very clear what their roles are. They know exactly what they're doing. If Alyssa Thomas comes out, they know exactly how they're going to be going into each game. And it's genuinely just, you can see the coaches that know what they're doing and the coaches that don't in the WNBA. And there's a very clear, in my opinion, Becky Hammond, Tibbetts, Nate Tibbetts, Cheryl Reeve, who's unbelievable. Cheryl Reeve's unbelievable. And Smesco seems to know what he's doing. Really seems to know what he's doing. And outside of that, there is such, like, I think there's a very small gap. again, we'll see with Roberts and we'll see with Mazian. But there is and same with Nakase. Nakase seems to be okay, but there seems to be very few mediocre coaches. It genuinely looks like there's a lot of real good coaches that are winning teams games and a lot of real bad coaches that are losing teams games. That's just my opinion on it all. Who'd the Mercury just sign? Who's McConnell? Megan McConnell. So the Phoenix Mercury just made another signing. And they signed Megan McConnell. I don't know who Megan McConnell is. I'm going to be honest. I have absolutely no idea who Megan McConnell is. A mid-major, undrafted guard from Duquesne. Okay. I have absolutely no idea who she is. But if the Phoenix Mercury signed her, she averaged 18, 5 assists, 7 boards. Wow. These are legit numbers. But again, it's Duquesne. Are Duquesne better in the women's than in the men's? Because even I scored 4 points against... Did I score 4? No, I had 3. I didn't have one. I scored 3 points against Duquesne a decade ago. She played in preseason. So they're after bringing Megan McConnell back. So how did she get on in preseason? This is a weird signing, in my opinion. This is a really, really weird signing. Someone says, thanks for that info, Megan McConnell's mother. I mean, it's a genuine, interesting signing, I guess. So she obviously went undrafted last year, and they brought her in. Obviously playing in preseason, playing in training camp is a big thing. And the Mercury looked okay in preseason, I think. They looked all right in training camp, I guess. And look, I think they know what they're doing, I guess. Like, the Phoenix Mercury are a team that absolutely, like, they're probably the team that I would trust the most in terms of, like, of bringing somebody in. Because bringing out Sevgi Uzun, like, she's probably coming in short term to replace. Did they have another injury either, though? So the Mercury played 2 preseason games. They lost 1 to the Valkyries and they lost 1 to the Aces. Didn't really matter. But in the first preseason game, when they played like 25 players, she played 9 minutes in that game, 3 points. I mean, it is what it is. Played similar enough to what Celeste Taylor did. And then in the Valkyries game, did she play much? She played against the Valkyries. She played 10 minutes, I guess. So she was like, they were actually giving her a bit of a look in. So Megan McConnell as a player. Like, I don't know. It could be a really, really interesting one. It could be a really, really interesting one. Oh, how are you? The Fever looked terrible without Caitlin Clark. I fully agree. But, oh, it's TJ McConnell's sister. Oh, I didn't realize that. I did not realize that. And was it yesterday that they signed her? Or 2 days ago? Someone just said no, she didn't. Somebody, obviously, they released a guard. Maybe they signed her or replaced. It hasn't been announced yet. Yeah, they actually, they signed her. But, that makes sense. I was about to say, I played Duquesne right after TJ McConnell left. It makes sense when she was out there playing. So, oh, it was McConnell that hit this shot against the Valkyries. Okay, that's a quick trigger. That's a quick trigger, gotta say. That is a very, very quick trigger. But yeah, it is a very interesting one, seeing how she gets on. And it'll be interesting if she ends up balling and it turns out that the Indiana or Ari McDonald does not work out. It might not be the greatest thing in the world. What height is she? What height is she? So Megan McConnell is... Oh, no, she's tiny. She's tiny as well. She's tiny as well. So she's... What, like 5'7"-ish? Okay, she's tiny as well. That's something. So we saw there, under the radar player from the draft that should keep an eye on, Megan McConnell. Even at 5'7", she's remarkably efficient around the rim. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how she gets on. And yeah, it'll be a very interesting one to see how she gets on. So okay, nice quick first step there, good finish. I will see it. We'll see it, like, if it's a good signing, because again, a lot of teams are... Jesus. Why is she bigger than TJ McConnell? Why is she... Like, she's bigger arms than her brother. TJ's lucky he's just got to the NBA Finals. She's a tank. Just as long... Just isn't Lexi Brown... Or not Lexi, Jaylen Brown, you'll take it. I mean, Jaylen Brown just signed for the Sun. Jaylen Brown just signed for the Sun. But, yeah, it is a... It's going to be a real interesting one to see how she gets on for the Mercury. Because, again, the Mercury are one of those teams that I just have weird faith. Weird faith in the Mercury. Okay, nice quick trigger. Okay. Okay, again, I'm not judging somebody playing at a mid-major in college. I mean that. Like, I'm not going to be out here judging how somebody plays at a mid-major. Because let's be honest. Let's be honest, like, any WNBA player could look like the best player in the world at Duquesne. Nice finishing. Like, this will be an interesting one. Again, the Phoenix Mercury have been really, really good with their recruiting. They have been really, really good with the players they brought in. They've been smart about it. They have been smart about it. And they haven't, like, with the players they brought in, like, they brought in Catherine Westbeld. Catherine Westbeld, undrafted 29-year-old. They brought in Lexi Held, undrafted, 26-year-old. Obviously, look, Laxa's Laxa. They brought in a lot of players, and they were very, very smart. It'll be interesting to see what she is signed for, how long she is signed, if she's signed on the rest of the season. If she's signed for the rest of the season, it's genuinely, if she's signed for the rest of the season, it means obviously they're very, very much on board with it. And if this signing ends up being a good thing, if this signing ends up working out, I think you're going to see an awful lot more teams look towards mid-majors, look towards these players that have done well at other colleges and kind of moving away from the UConns of the world. But yeah, it is an interesting one. It is a very, very interesting one. We'll see what they're going to be like coming into the season because she's going to be like coming into the season because even if she's just decent, it's a big thing for mid-major players. The NBA doesn't have any stars now. It's because Adam Silver wants it to be like that. They brought in the freaking second apron. The NBA can't have stars when teams can't make the finals back-to-back because of the second apron. Like if the Thunder, by the way, the Thunder have about this year and next year. They literally have 2 more years or 1 more year after this until they have to get rid of one of J-Dub or Chet. Like they can't afford to keep J-Dub and Chet after next season. Fever were losing games before injuries. They lost to the Dream, who are very good, by 1. And they lost to the Mercury. Or sorry, they lost to the Liberty in a rigged game. The Fever were fine before the injuries. Engelbert doesn't want... It seems like she doesn't want the WNBA to survive. Seems like she doesn't want the league to survive at this stage. Okay, do I have any other topics I want to talk about? Any other topics you guys want me to talk about? We're going to stay on for another, like, 15, 20 minutes. Any other topics you guys want me to talk about? Fever has a chance. Who can fire the commissioner? Adam Silver, pretty much. Or the owners can. The commissioner works on behalf of the owners, not the players. The Fever Liberty game was rigged. Yeah, the game was decided by 4 bad calls consecutively in a row. Like, in the last 90 seconds, there were 4 consecutive bad calls in a row that all went in favor of the Mercury. Or the Liberty. How many college ring winners don't make in the WNBA, percentage-wise? That win in their senior year? Not that many. That don't get drafted? Not that many. Then why would they play Timpson? They've got the GOAT Bree Turner to play. They got the GOAT Bree Turner to play. Why would they get rid of... Why would they play Timpson? Who cares the development? We have the GOAT. The stakeholders control the refs' calls. They don't control the refs' calls on an individual basis. They control the ref on... they control the refs' calls in respect to how many... or how the game is refereed in general. Like, the stakeholders are making it a physical game. So, lads, today we are reacting to the WNBA Power Rankings. We are reacting to the WNBA Power Rankings, lads. So, I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to predict. This is the ESPN, and I'm going to predict who is where. My prediction is, I think they're going to go Liberty 1. I think they're going to go Liberty 1. I think they're going to have Sun 13, obviously. Obviously, the Sun at 13. I think they have Liberty 1, Lynx 2. I think they're going to go Mercury 3, Dream 4, Aces 5. Fever 6. Storm 7. Sky 8. Sky 8, that'll be my prediction. So, 13, the Connecticut Sun. They're down 1 from last week. Did they have the Sky as the worst last week? The Sun beat the Fever 85-83 on Friday behind Marina Maber's 26 points, but the celebration of the season's first win didn't last long. They lost 100-58 2 days later, shot 31% while allowing Liberty to make 62.3%. Like, that was funny. That was funny. That was funny, I have to say. That was funny. The Wings, obviously, they're 1-6. The Dallas Wings at 11. The Wings got their first win of the season, scoring 109 points against the Sun, dropped back-to-back games against Chicago. Paige Bueckers was placed in concussion protocol and missed the second meeting with Sky. She's expected to be at least one more game. It is an interesting one when it comes to, like, the Wings. Because the Wings have had a few games that have looked okay, but I think the Dallas Wings in 12th is fine because they're 1-6. However, the Sparks have got to be 11th. The Sparks absolutely stink. The Sparks really stink as well. So I would be half considering the Sparks below the Wings. The Sparks are really, really bad. Kelsey Plum's getting hers, I guess. Like, she's getting hers. But that's about it. The Sparks at 11, yeah. They're 2-6. They blew an 18-point lead. They lost 3 in a row versus Atlanta, Vegas, and Phoenix, giving up an 18-point first half lead against Mercury to fall to 85-80 on Sunday. Bigger issue, though, is the status of Rickea Jackson. He's not with the team the past 2 games due to personal reasons. No one has a clue what's going on with Rickea Jackson. No one has a clue. Like, if you're going to trade, she missed 3 games in concussion protocol. She played 12 minutes against the Dream, and then she's just gone for personal reasons. Like, at this stage, you just trade. Just tank the season and trade Rickea Jackson. Go get yourself Camila Cardoso. The Sky are dumb. The Sky are going to be dumb. They're going to give you Camila. Go give yourself Camila Cardoso. And then you imagine playing Cardoso with Brink when Hamby's done. Imagine when Hamby's kind of like done from the Sparks. And imagine putting in freaking Brink and Cardoso. 10. Are they just going to go seeding? Because if they go seeding, it's the Fever here, isn't it? Or no, it's the Sky. It's the Sky at 10, surely. The Valkyrie. Oh, Valkyrie's 10. Yeah. Valkyrie's 10. That makes sense. The Valkyries had... who was third? Oh, the Sky were 13 last week. Valkyries had to face WNBA's best team last week, losing twice to New York and at home to Minnesota. They were positive. Second matchup against the Liberty was much closer. And they were really close to the Lynx too. I don't understand how you, at this point in time, you can put the Valkyries ahead of the Sky in the power ranking. Or the Sky ahead of the Valkyries in the power rankings. The Valkyries have lost 4 games. Yes, one of them was against the Sparks. But like, the games that the Valkyries have lost, the other ones were against... Like, they beat the Mystics who were ahead of them. They beat the Sparks. But their games that they lost were literally Liberty and Lynx. Liberty and Lynx. 9 Sky, surely. The Fever below... Oh, you know what? Fever below the Sky. Fair enough. How were the Fever ranked 6th a week ago? It was a rough week for Indiana. The news that Caitlin Clark would miss at least 2 weeks was followed by loss to Washington, Connecticut. Latter of the Suns only win a season. Clark's fellow guards, Sid Colson and Sophie Cunningham, were injured against Connecticut. Neither is expected to be out long, but the Fever still signed Ari McDonald. Fair enough. I don't understand how... Who's on first? What? I don't know why my name followed by a place in Scotland has to do with anything, but or who's in first? I would assume the Liberty, but the Fever in 9th, the Sky in 8th. Wow. Sky climbed out of last place with their first 2 wins, back-to-back the wins over the Wings. Cardoso had a career-high 23 points. Ariel Atkins led the way. Those wins followed a 5-point loss to Phoenix. Things might be up for the Sky. That was a 5-point... By the way, that was a 5-point loss to the Phoenix Suns when they're up 16 points in the second half. Are we going to go that far? Lads, are we going that far that the Sky are better than the Fever? Are we going that far with things? Because I don't know. I don't know if we're going to go that far. Because the Sky did lose by 35 to the Fever. And I also don't understand how the Valkyries are below the Fever in the Sky. The Valkyries have beaten a better team than both of them. The Mystics... What? How have you ranked the Mystics at 6? The Mystics have lost 4 of their last 5, and their only win was against the Fever without Caitlin Clark. In their last 5. After winning 3 in a row, they lost 3 straight over the past week. Minnesota versus Atlanta and Vegas. The home loss of his dreams particularly frustrating. They led by 17 points early in the third quarter, letting that narrow lead and leading out of 3 heading into 4 and ultimately losing by 7. While they rallied back from their own 17-point hole against the Aces, the Storm couldn't close the gap in 70-75 defeat. The one positive for the Chicago Storm, the Seattle Storm, is that the development of Dominique Malonga. That is their one big positive, is how well Dominique Malonga is starting to develop. Like, Erica Wheeler's looked fantastic. Oh, it's a joke. Albert and Costello. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the $5, by the way, both times. Thank you. Okay, I was just very, very confused. I was very confused at that. But the improvement in Dominique Malonga is the huge great thing for the Seattle Storm. Like, Gabby Williams, Nneka, and Skylar are still all playing well. Their big three's fine. The only huge problem with the Storm is that Ezi Magbagor has had a massive career regression. Like, Ezi Magbagor has genuinely... She's not even blocking shots anymore. She has regressed massively as a player. She has regressed hugely. And the Storm at 7, fair. Like, there is absolutely no reason. There's absolutely no reason why the Storm should be behind the Mystics. The Mystics at 6. Last week, they beat the Fever at a neutral site game held in Baltimore. Neutral site game in Baltimore. It was in, like, What are you talking about? Then fell at home to Liberty. All things considered, it's been a solid start for team expect to struggle. Sykes leads Wizards, or the Mystics, we're watching them points, assists, steals, and blocks, while Kikiri Afen leads in rebounds. I'm going to be honest. There is no reason for the Washington Mystics, who have lost 4 of their last 5 games, to be in 6. How? Wait, they went up from. So they went 2-0 and were ranked 10th. They then go 1-4 and go up to 6th. What? Vegas Aces at 5. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. The Aces at 5, absolutely fair. AJ Wilson might have be extra motivated to face former Aces teammates Kelsey Plum and Hamby. She had 35. To be fair, other than like I think Ages had 2 really good games this season and has struggled quite a bit by her standards. Not struggled in general, but struggled by her standards. Like, I think if we're looking at the Aces, I don't think the Aces are great. I think Jewel Lloyd is having a bad season. I think Chelsea Gray's not, like, stop calling. I think stopping calling Chelsea Gray to point guard is going to be the best thing for her, because it means all of her, like, the level, like, Lashiza, people is going to keep clowning their games. But Jackie Young and AJ Wilson have been very good. And again, the fact is like, it's been a disappointing start for the season for AJ Wilson as an individual, and she's still leading the team in every single stat, just shows how good AJ Wilson is. But yeah, I think the Aces aren't going to finish above the 4th seed. I don't think they're going to finish above 4. And number 4 is the Mercury. I mean, they're still getting dubs even without anybody. Like, they signed TJ McConnell's sister. They signed Haley Jones. They got rid of Uzun because she's gone back to Turkey for Eurobasket. But you also have to take into account, like, the Valkyries, by the way, are losing a bunch of players to Eurobasket. I'm trying to think who else has gone to Eurobasket. The Wings are losing Tiara McCowan, if that means anything. The Wings are losing Tiara McCowan. And she's gone and playing for Turkey. But yeah, like, it is an interesting one here. The Dream 3rd, I actually don't hate it. I don't hate the Dream being 3rd. Atlanta won at Seattle, and LA is benefiting from the offensive presence with leading scorers. Howard, 20.5 points. Gray, 19.1. Griner, 16.7. We're all in the top 10, unrivaled. That's unrivaled scoring. I was like, what are these points? What are these points? These aren't the WNBA points. And it's literally, the ESPN have literally gone and said, it's a list, because they were the scorers in unrivaled, they're going to be scoring well. Where's Bree Jones? Brittany Griner is having a horrendous season by her standards. Bree Jones has been 100 times better than Brittany Griner. Gray is having the best statistical season of her career, averaging 21.4 points, 4.6 assists, 5 boards, and Howard 17.6 points, nearly identical to her past 2 seasons, with her assists at 5 and rebounds on the up. The Atlanta Dream have been unbelievable. They have been unbelievable. The Liberty 2nd, wow. I agree with that, but wow. He beat Golden State back-to-back meetings, handled business against Washington, then finished the week with its first 100-point game of the season, flattening Connecticut by 48, and what was the second largest margin of victory in WNBA history. The win made league history in 2 more ways. 53 field goal attempts are the fewest in a 100-point game, and their 19 3-pointers tied their own record set against the Sky earlier in the season. John Quell recorded double-doubles in all 4 wins, included a season-high 18 rebounds against the Mystics. Oh, man. She's going to... What does she have, like 10 more to break the record? And I won, like... You've got the Minnesota Lynx at 1. They beat Seattle, Phoenix, Golden State. Still, the Lynx are not impressed how they played. Fee Collier missed Friday's close win over the Mercury because of a knee injury. Told ESPN's Kendra Andrews that the 82-77 win over Storm was the Lynx's only good game of the season, and they were good. They were terrible. Was it the 3rd quarter? They were up like 18 points and nearly blew it in that game. But yeah, The Fever at 9, I think, is a little bit crazy. The Storm being below. The Mystics, after losing 4 of their last 5, is kind of crazy. However, like, the Fever are probably going to lose. The Fever are probably going to lose to the Mystics, and the Fever are probably going to lose to the Sky. And even with Caitlin Clark back, because she's not going to be 100%, they're probably going to lose to the Dream. And then the freaking Liberty are just better than them, so they're probably going to lose to the Liberty. I'm going to be honest, like, I would not be shocked if the Fever start off 2-10. So maybe putting the Fever behind the Chicago Sky right now makes sense. Maybe it makes sense. The Fever are probably going to lose. Sorry, not 2-10, 2-8. The Fever are probably losing the next 4 games in a row. Like, if the Fever don't win tonight, they're going to go 2-8. Like, there's no way. There's no way. But yeah, it's an interesting one. At least they're going to be better than the Wings. At least they're going to be better than the Wings, I guess. But yeah, that is it. So, lads, yeah, we're going to end the stream right there. Thank you guys for being in the stream, lads. Thanks, all of you guys, for being in the stream. But yeah, I am extremely tired. I'm going to get a bit of a rest. I'm going to get some shots up. But, yeah, I am going to get some shots up, take a nap, and then get ready for this game. So anyway, I will see you guys.